Movement and Myths. In this unit, students will use movement to retell the major events of the myth, The Night the Moon Fell by Pat Mora. Students will explore movement inspired by a variety of stimuli and suggest additional sources for movement ideas. They'll combine a variety of movements while manipulating the elements of dance. Students will improvise a dance phrase with a beginning, a middle that has a main idea, and a clear end. Students will also recount stories, including fables and folktales from diverse cultures, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. Students will use information gained from the illustrations and words in a print or digital text to demonstrate understanding of its characters, setting, or plot.
In second grade, one of the major standards that the kids have to be able to perform is that they have to retell a story. I find that the kids seem to be particularly obsessed with myths. So I have to start with explaining what a myth is. I want to discuss the different parts of the myth. Okay, the first thing is that a myth includes supernatural beings, heroes or heroines, and they often have special powers. A myth also teaches a lesson or it explains a belief or natural happenings. So why we have stars, why there are seasons, things like that. And the second thing that we're going to be able to do after we read our story is fill in our story map. So a story map is a great way for the kids to visually break apart a story. And through that, they get all of those who, what, where, why, when questions answered. So a retell is when you tell me about all of the characters, the settings in the story, what's the problem and the solution. And then of course, all of this goes into the beginning, middle, and end of your story.
Basically, we find that with arts integration, when the student could actually act out or dance out the information, they retain the information better. All right, so at the end of this lesson, not only are you going to be able to retell the story, but you'll be able to retell the story through dance. So we're going to review some dance elements, directions, energy on the dynamic of their movement and how to place it within the story. Swinging, when I say go, you're going to move in a swinging energy. 1, 2, 3, go. Swing your head, swing your arms, swing your legs. Levels that they also use. 1, 2, 3. High. What's the next one? 1, 2, 3. Medium. What's the next one? 1, 2, 3. Low. And then putting it back into the story. So how can it relate to the stories? You can actually dance out the setting, the problem, how to solve the problem, what is the problem, and putting that within the story map. Who wants to read the title of the story we're going to read today?
Dakota.
The Night the Moon Fell.
Good. So let's turn to the first page of our story. The night was hushed and peaceful. Suddenly, the sky shook. A loud whoosh rattled the stars and startled the moon.
It's an activity that we call sitting statues where I'll interject where she reads and then she stops and have them dance out the story. All right, y'all, in a sitting statue, show me a shape of the moon. 1, 2, 3, freeze. Now show me the shape of the stars. 1, 2, 3, freeze. Now show me the stars rattling. 1, 2, 3, go.
And I also think it really helps them focus on those details. They tend to remember more of the story when they incorporate the dance with it than if I just ask them to fill out a story map on their own.
Absolutely.
Who can give me a character from the story? Gianna.
Luna.
Luna, good job. I think traditionally story maps are really where students focus on discovering the beginning, middle, and end of a story. I like to include a section for characters, a section for setting, a section for problem and solution. Just trying to get them to mentally break down stories so it's easier for them to recall. Okay, so raise your hand if you can tell me what happens at the beginning of the story. Avea.
Luna's grandpa shot the blowgun and the sky shook and Luna fell into the ocean and broke in pieces.
Excellent. Well, we really allow the kids to have creative freedom. I mean, we break them into groups and now you say, here you go, create.
In your group, You have to retell the story, beginning, middle, and end, through dance. So it's the collaboration of students, them taking risks, the creative freedom,
Right.
and then just watching all that teamwork come together.
They get really excited and take a lot of ownership over what it is that they create.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to see them just be so proud and booming about work. I know as a teacher, that doesn't always happen, and this is like one of those things that they produce it and they love it. It's a wonderful way to get kids to really remember and get involved with the stuff that they're doing and show you that they comprehend these things, it's just in a different way. And I know a lot of times it's hard for traditionally trained teachers to think outside of that box. This is just a very exciting way of teaching, and I think if everybody could see how impactful it is, it would be like the standard for how we teach.